My name is Chris Justice. I'm Chief Executive Officer of Sparksite. We are a full-service agency that specializes in really creating brands and bringing opportunities to companies. We do that with in-person events as well as online events. Our next session is going to tell you a story about how we started our company. It was funny, before I met Bob, we sat down in a room, and as I told you a few minutes ago, writing and creating businesses was a passion and a hobby of mine. Sparksite represents number 20 of the companies that, from business plan to funding event, that I've helped create. As we started Sparksite, we completely abandoned conventional wisdom as it relates to small business. There was no business plan. There was no financial structure. It was simply, we want to work with people that we like and trust. And that was before I even had read Bob's books and even been introduced to him. That was the founding principle of what we did. So, as a part of that relationship, we just simply picked up the phone and made telephone calls. There was no advertising. There was no brand creation. It was really simply creating relationships between individuals. And that's where I started to see a new type of marketing, or new marketing, emerging. What we did is really unconventional and at the same time unique, because there are really a number of different principles as it relates to marketing. So you have traditional marketing, which is outbound campaigns, forcing people to digest your message. There are online campaigns, which represent email marketing pieces, banner advertising, and so forth. Video marketing now is starting to emerge. You have to have a message in video, otherwise people don't consume that. And then finally, you've got social marketing, which no one knows how to do correctly, but I'm going to give you some tips and some examples. So with those demographics, we started a company that really abandoned all of the traditional marketing principles of a company. There was no advertising. There was no outbound marketing. We did not force our message into anyone's mouths or email inboxes for that matter. We focused purely on online marketing and referral-based marketing and social marketing. How could we get people to recognize our brand by the way that we serve them? And so we came up with some simple basics. Most of the people that we interacted with were illiterate. What does that mean? It means that they did not read. Our website marketing, or our web copy, the message that we sat down in rooms and crafted our brands on, was never read. It was read by one person, which was Google. And if you can call that a person, then so be it. But Google read our copy more than anyone else did. The next thing that we learned is people liked very, very short messages. It was, we do this well. And so we came up with, we're fanatically easy to work with. We're just fanatical about that. We wanted to create an unforgettable experience. You probably recognize these horses. We wanted that message to come through in everything we did. There's an image, there's an emotion that you feel. Sometimes it's a wobbly emotion, but there's an emotion that you feel when you look at imagery. So we were more not necessarily creating the advertising model, but the emotional model for connecting with people. We wanted to be simple. There's some great examples of very simple marketing campaigns, and we're going to talk about those in just a bit. But we wanted the message to be simple, freakishly easy to work with, fanatical about serving customers. That was our basis and our premise. We wanted to be creative and do creative things. We wanted to be unconventional. So you have to spark that emotion and that desire, but build that trust along the process. We had to create a message that was not repeatable by just ourselves, but by the people that we interacted with. Something that people could carry with them and say, I don't know exactly what they did, but they really did it good, or did it well, rather. And so we created those messages that we constantly enforced. We realized that every message that we had would be imperfect and not serve a mass audience. That wasn't our goal. If you look at 20 million potential opportunities, we were focused on one, and that one would refer itself out many times over. We were social. How many of you have experimented or looked into social marketing at all? Facebook accounts, Twitter accounts. We grew a company from 0 to 1 million with only social media and that referral-based marketing. So first off, don't define your marketing programs. Define the personality that you want people to leave with. Is it an emotional response? Is it fear? Is it loyalty? We created those emotions and defined the personality of our business, and every employee had to interact with it. And you see me running cameras and doing some different things here. Everybody in the business participates in the business. There's no front desk operator. There's no secretary. When the phone rings, 20 lines light up. The first person to the telephone greets the customer, recognizes what that opportunity is, because every Monday we go through every opportunity and every customer on the board and refers that person accordingly. So we do some unconventional things to create relationships. And so when a customer calls up, they'll recognize Nicole or Katie or Kelly. And then Kelly transfers that person to the person who's responsible for that opportunity or relationship. So we create those relationships, but we first started with that personality. Fanatical and freakish. We just want to serve. So I encourage you, if you want to grow that company image, focus on the personality first. And then spend all of your time on an outreach plan. But don't sell. Speak at association meetings and refactor that marketing plan into an interaction plan. Define those key messages and key words and phrases. I call them trigger phrases and trigger words. Fanatical, freakish. Those are things that we came up with internally. At first, I was like, I don't want to be a freak. That has too many negative connotations. But the type of people that we were interacting with, they love the word. I was wrong. So those words about our business defined us, and what actually ended up happening is they also defined the way that we wrote our marketing brochures and the things that we handed out after we interacted with the customer, but at the same time, they became a foundation of our SEO strategy, search engine optimization. How many of you, at least in some way, shape, or form, spend time understanding how people find you? It's an absolute critical metric for every employee to understand. And it's not hard. We have interns right now managing our SEO strategy for the company and the way that we get found. You can teach an 18-year-old what SEO means. It's pretty easy. It's not a magic or a black box. It's all around a small, finite set of words and demographics. It's an attachment to a personality, to a word or phrase. So then we focus on weaving all of those messages into everything that we wrote. Every time we spoke in a presentation, every time we created a press release or a new piece of copy, that personality and those key messages and words or phrases were throughout all of our marketing materials. Is that making sense? How many of you have used the same approach with creating your own marketing campaigns? No one. That's crazy. Certainly someone has, okay. So Sherilyn is one of those folks that applies that. How many of you have thought about applying emotion into the creation of your marketing campaign? Emotion. How many of you have thought about the emotional response that your customer has with your logo, your brand, your copy? It's the most important aspect because you're trying to trigger that. Now apply it into a channel. So as I said, we do no advertising. So how do you get customers? Well, that message starts to proliferate, and it does that through our small set of disciples and individuals that interact with the company. And so we reinforce those messages, but we focus on only helping people. Bob talked about giving. That's the foundation of everything that we do from a marketing perspective. And I'll give you some examples of how it applies to social media, but with everything that we do, we're not allowed to pitch ourselves. We accept the opportunity to help people in every situation. And so that means participating in presentations where there's a missing void in an association meeting. we try to fill those opportunities. And that becomes our marketing foundation. And then what we've found is that has actually accelerated our lead and pipeline overall as a company. Social media has had a huge difference in the way that we've created and crafted our message. Many of the things that we do, we announce prior to them happening in social media. How many of you have gone out there and posted a link or some other element inside of a social media outlet, like on Twitter or on Facebook, to say, here, come to my meeting, or attend my seminar, or visit my website for this great piece of information? What do you think the conversion ratio is on that? Do you look like you're trying to sell something? It's a hard call. It's a very tough call. Anyone in our organization who participates in social media is not allowed to provide any information about our company. They're only allowed to connect people to information and to respond to something. So I need the best high-definition camera in the industry to shoot this event. Boom, here's what we've used in practice. It stands up to travel, it's easy to shoot with, and everybody in the country has one. It's a helpful piece of information. Not once did they speak about the company or the services that we provided. I need someone to help me with search engine marketing. Well, we have some skills in-house, like I explained, but here's a great book. You should read this. And so everything we did from a social media perspective was about serving others and giving people information. And so we scour and do searches based on those trigger words and keywords that we talked about earlier. You know, video marketing is something that we search on every day. And if someone has a question of what do you edit in, what kind of camera, what kind of lighting equipment do you use, we simply send them a link, and yes, we use B&H Photo because they have the best prices. And we refer them directly out. And something magical happens in social media. You start to build an online reputation. And if you've heard anything about reputation management online, it's absolutely critical. And the folks at Rackspace have been one of the companies that I've respected because they take the same approach. They don't go out and market themselves. They just have people scour social media, press releases, Twitter, Facebook, Plaxo, LinkedIn, Yahoo Q&A, Google Q&A, and they simply answer questions. And you can see that opportunity to generate new business for yourselves in those Q&A questions, because those are the questions that people ask. And so we often answer those. Sure, they'll come from a specific email address, or it'll come from info@Sparksite, but everything will be associated with a name or some personality of the company. But the opportunities for you to sell your message are all being presented and laid out for you. But now we can all sniff out that person who's trying to sell the pitch, or the subscription to the website, and so forth. So what's next?
That is the question.
Here's a great example.
I love my new iPhone. It does everything. But will it blend? That is the question. Let's find out. I think I'm going to push the smoothie button. I smoke. Don't breathe this. Now, you fans on YouTube have asked me to blend an iPhone, so I did it. But I have another.
So a great example of a company that pulled together a marketing campaign that came from a product manager. He simply grabbed a 2x4 one day to test one of his products, shoved it in the top of the blender, and videotaped the whole thing. Somebody in the office grabbed it, posted it on YouTube. And with, literally pennies of production cost, immediately they saw a 400% return in the number of blenders that they sold. 400%, and this was in a matter of 3 to 4 weeks. They did something that was unconventional, that was low budget, that communicated the message about their blenders that they could do and chew up a 2x4 with their own technology. Then now they're blending everything, and everyone's looking forward to the next message that they can describe about their company. And so think about those repeatable messages with your products and services. What can someone say about you? Because this is a viral piece. Video marketing can be done with blogs. You'll see on our website we do some of that. It's all very helpful. We don't talk about our own messages. We just describe how we can help people. Those are some of the best blogs. And they have a huge conversion ratio. To give you an example, last year we ran an event that we spent about $40,000 in outbound marketing. So there's a concept I want to teach you. There's outbound marketing where you go and you force feed your message, and there's inbound marketing where people find you and then go to your message. So we spent about $40,000 in outbound marketing campaigns, email, telephone campaigns, print material. We shipped thousands and thousands of postcards and so forth. You know what the conversion ratio was on a $16,000 print campaign of postcards? One individual. So you might be saying to yourself, was the message wrong? Well, it was validated. We did focus groups. The messaging was right. Call campaign. How many people did we convert into that event? 2 people. $9,000 call campaign. 2 people converted. We did a video marketing campaign, launched it, 50 people overnight. Combine that with social media, we got exactly what we wanted. So people are illiterate. They do take video messaging or video marketing very seriously. And if it's humorous and it captures their emotional response, then they're more apt to take an action. But as soon as they smell or sniff a pitch, you've lost them. So video marketing does not have to be expensive. It does not have to be a broadcast-ready commercial. It can be produced for a moderate budget, but think about those keywords and phrases as you build that campaign. $1 million in revenue in 18 months. Does anyone know who that company is? Mine. I'm not here to promote you or to sell you on anything, but we're all small business owners. I am the same. And all of the examples and the strategies that I've talked about today are the ones we employed ourselves. And we were able to turn a 2-person idea on paper about working with people that we liked and trusted into an 18-month campaign that brought our company and made it a personality to be reckoned with. Notice I didn't say force, a personality to be reckoned with. And so that's one of the success stories that we have. And we've applied the same model into the other businesses that I've started, into pest control companies, painting companies, catering companies. And so it's all about giving back and giving people an experience that they'll remember. And then what happens is this snowball effect happens with very little outbound marketing, and it all becomes inbound marketing. People find you through other sources, referrals, videos, and so forth, and it comes back to you. That's what, as business owners, we're constantly being faced with, is we have people that are just searching for information. And I want my staff and the people that are in the business around me to answer those questions only, and to be an outlet so that that trust builds over a period of time and the relationship is there. Because now you can build that relationship, but it's all referral based. I mean, we're tired of having people punch us in the face with a message. Buy this, subscribe to this. And now I'll tell you, as a very dumb example, I switched to a Mac based on a referral from a 12-year-old on a YouTube video because he said he could do email faster, he could do this faster, and so forth. And so I just jumped the bandwagon and bought a $3,000 laptop. Sure, spec it out, I'll take it. 12-year-old. But I go back to the same 12-year-old if I need, that B2C transaction's the valid piece, at least in my example. But there are other 12-year-olds that go up and they post the same video of how to do this, how to take apart a laptop, how to implement a voice over IP system. 19-year-old kid, post this information about putting together this voice over IP system. So, the people that we interact with, we don't need to dumb it down anymore. I think that's one of the core messages, is that as people that have emerged from a Cold War mentality, we always dumbed it down and brought it up. But we actually called our audience stupid. It's okay to start high and start technical and start with a very strong value proposition and work yourself down, because people break you out and they'll probe for details. So assume that your audience is moderately intelligent, and then give them the opportunity to feel you out and to create a relationship so they feel comfortable to ask more questions. And I think if you take one thing away from the presentation, is that create an opportunity and a personality for your company that builds a relationship and opens a door, doesn't necessarily manufacture an opportunity. And that's how, at least in my experience, the companies that I work with and the examples that I have has worked best for me in the social media arena.
That's a question. I don't know whether there's time, but when you step back and talk about defining the personality and the key message, can you give some advice as to how to make that concise and consistent? Can you share some insights as to how to do that effectively?
Well, here's what we did. We actually sat down in a group, with all the employees, and started identifying what types of personalities that we had in the company. Were they type A, or they type B? Were they helpful? Were they dismissive? Were they skeptical? And we started to write them up onto the board. And we found that people got very personal. You're negative. You're critical. You dress funny. And we started to boil those things up, and people recognized these personality traits that they had, and then they started to say, I want to be helpful. I want to be enthusiastic. I want to be energetic. I want to come to the office early in the morning. And this kind of social median started to happen into the business, is that the people that were great morning people started to bring in those people that were late people. They identified those personality traits. There were some times where we had to kind of break up personality tension, but since everyone was open to that type of personality feedback, then it's all things that we recognized. So then we started to build this list of 3 words, freakishly easy to work with, fanatical about helping people, and honest. If it's screwed up, let's fix it. If it's broken and you can't do anything about it, call someone immediately and say, guess what, it's broken, I can't do anything about it, I'm sorry, here's an option. And so those three elements became the foundation of the business. But they came after sitting down with people and focusing on what the company wanted to be. Now, with 10 employees, that's easy. You get to 50, it's a bit harder. But you take your management team, your leadership team into that room, and then you expose their personalities and ask them what type of company that they want to be. I admire Bob. You've seen him speak today. I want to learn how to speak like that. So I follow what he does, and I listen to what he says and the way that he articulates himself. So everyone has a mentor or someone that they admire. And if you give your employees that opportunity to admire something, even if it is the personality of the business, then they'll be more respected, they'll work harder, and they'll be more emphatic about applying those principles to their own daily lives.